My name is Jade Morrison. I'm 31 years old. By day, I pour concrete and sand under the weight of the sun. By night, I pour my heart into songs no one's ever heard. I've been writing since I was 14 words that come to me between the hum of power tools and the sound of rain hitting corrugated steel. People say it's an odd mix, a woman in construction who writes love songs. But the thing about hard work is, it teaches you how to keep going even when no one believes in you, especially when no one believes in you. The man I loved, Victor, used to be one of those believers. We met 4 years ago at an open mic night. I was singing one of my own songs, shaky off key, too raw maybe, but his eyes lit up like I was already on stage somewhere bigger. He said he admired my passion. He told his friends he was dating a real artist. Back then, he'd wait for me after work with takeout and coffee listen while I hummed melodies I was too shy to record. But that was before real life started. Before promotions, mortgages, and Victor's family made it clear I didn't quite fit their version of success. The night everything changed was his brother Nathan's engagement party held at their family's country club, the kind of place that smells like wealth and quiet judgment. Victor begged me to come. "It'll mean a lot to my parents if you're there," he'd said, smoothing my hair like I was a project he was trying to polish up. So I went in my only black dress and the heels that pinch my toes. The dining hall shimmered with chandeliers and crystal laughter. Victor's mom, Helen, air-kissed me and whispered, "You look comfortable, which is rich, coming from someone wearing a fur stole in 80-degree weather." At the table, there were investment bankers, lawyers, and wives who wore diamonds like armor. I felt like a nail in a room full of jewels. Then Patrick, Victor's father, asked the question I dreaded. "So, Jade, what do you do?" I opened my mouth, but Victor beat me to it. "She works construction," he said with that practiced half-smile, "and still thinks she's going to make it as a singer." The laughter that followed wasn't loud, it was worse, the kind that travels through polite smiles and raised eyebrows. Nathan's fiancée tittered. Helen smirked into her wine. Patrick chuckled. "A dreamer, huh? Bit old for the pop star fantasy." "Don't you think I write?" I said quietly. "Mostly for other artists, hopefully one day for film or TV." Victor's laugh cut me off. Last month, she spent $400 recording a song about, what was it, honey lost love, so original. The words slammed into me like a brick wall. They didn't even know that song. That song was about him, about us, back when he made me feel like I could fly. Maybe one day, I managed forcing a smile. Victor raised his glass. That's what she always says, maybe one day. Meanwhile, I'm the one planning our actual future. Laughter again. Even Helen chimed in. "He's such a stable one, Jade. You're lucky he grounds you." Grounds me, like concrete, like gravity. I wanted to disappear. So I excused myself to the restroom and locked myself in a stall. I sat there for 5 minutes, the sounds of champagne and piano muffled through the door. My reflection in the mirror, barely holding it together. What Victor didn't know, was that 2 weeks earlier, I'd received an email from a music supervisor at Netflix. They wanted to buy one of my songs, the one I wrote about him, the one he just mocked. $125,000. Full rights, plus royalties. I hadn't signed yet. I wanted to tell him first, make it special. But as I stared at myself in that bathroom mirror at the woman he'd just reduced to a joke, something shifted. I went home that night beside him in silence. He fell asleep instantly, snoring softly while I sat in the dark at my desk. The contract glowed on my laptop screen, cursor blinking like a heartbeat. I thought about the way he'd laughed, the way his father's eyes had skimmed over me like I wasn't worth conversation, and I clicked sign. $125,000 for a song about the man who just turned me into a punchline. I whispered into the quiet room. "You wanted me to be realistic, Victor, so here's reality." The confirmation email chimed. In that moment, something inside me unclenched. Not joy, not revenge, just relief. Before closing my laptop, I opened a new account under my own name. No shared access, no shared dreams, just mine. That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, hearing his words again. Maybe one day. He said it with pity. I was going to turn it into prophecy. It's been 3 weeks since the engagement party. Victor never brought it up again, which is how I knew it bothered him. Silence was his favorite punishment, a way to make me feel guilty for making him uncomfortable. Meanwhile, my song deal had officially cleared. After taxes and fees, $87,500 hit my account. The number looked unreal on my screen, more money than I'd ever seen in my life. But instead of celebration, I felt calm, quiet, like I'd been right all along and finally the universe had confirmed it. I didn't tell Victor, not because I wanted to hide it, but because I wanted to see who he really was when he thought I had nothing to offer but love. He made it easy. That Saturday, we went to dinner at one of his favorite downtown restaurants, the kind where the bill costs more than a week of my groceries. He always said I should learn to appreciate the finer things, even though I usually ended up calculating the tip, just to make sure he didn't shortchange the waiter. The night started fine, wine, small talk, the usual. But then he brought up his coworker's girlfriend. "Did you see Eric's post?" Victor said, twirling his fork. "He just bought her a Tesla. Must be nice dating someone with ambition." I smiled politely. Good for them. I mean, Madison doesn't have to worry about her boyfriend playing singer after work. "Songwriter," I corrected softly. He sighed like I was exhausting him. "You know what I mean. Don't be sensitive." "Not sensitive," I said. "Just accurate." He leaned back. "Jade, you're 31. Don't you ever think about reality? It's time to grow up. The construction job is fine, but it's not a career. And the music thing, it's starting to look well pathetic." I cut my steak carefully, like my knife was the only thing keeping me from exploding. "Pathetic," I repeated. He shrugged. "I'm just trying to help you see it how others do." Others. My parents, Nathan, everyone at the party. I set my fork down. Right. Everyone who laughed. He blinked uncomfortable. "It was just a joke." "Sure," I said. "A joke." The waiter came by with dessert menus. I asked for the check. Victor ordered the $18 chocolate torte because of course he did. While he ate, his phone buzzed. He smiled, reading. "Oh my God, listen to this. Nathan just texted me he and his fiancée are obsessed with this new song from that Netflix show. It's called When You Knew Me." My pulse jumped. He laughed, oblivious. He says the music supervisor's calling it the find of the year. Probably some Juilliard prodigy. God, it's so beautiful. You'd love it. Real music. Not like the stuff you record in your friend's spare room. I gripped my glass to hide my shaking hands. "Maybe whoever wrote it started like me," I said. He chuckled. "Please. People like that don't work construction. They have talent." I stayed silent. He didn't notice. He was too busy looking up the song on Spotify. "Here," he said, connecting to the car's Bluetooth as we drove home. "Let me play it. Maybe you'll learn something." And then my voice filled the car. My guitar. My words. The song I wrote for him. The one I'd played for him once in our tiny apartment when we still believed in each other. The same melody. The same lyrics. "You said I'd find my way someday. Maybe one day. You'd stay to see it." He sighed dreamily. God, the emotion. The authenticity. You can feel it. I looked out the window. "Yeah," I said. "Incredible." When we got home, I went to bed early, pretending to be tired. I lay there staring into the dark, listening to him hum the melody, my melody under his breath. The irony was unbearable. He was moved by my words, comforted by my pain, completely unaware that the woman beside him wrote every note. I wanted to scream it at him, to shout, "That's me," but I didn't. Not yet. Instead, I whispered to myself, "Let him fall in love with the ghost of me before he realizes I'm already gone." Over the next few days, When You Knew Me exploded online. Clips of the song played over wedding montages, breakup edits, fan covers. Comments poured in. "Who is Jay Morrison? This song saved me. Whoever wrote this has been through something real." They weren't wrong. Victor even shared the song on his Instagram story, tagging the Netflix show with, "Pure talent. Music like this reminds me why I love art." I laughed out loud when I saw it, because for the first time in 4 years, I wasn't sad or angry, I was free. He didn't know it yet, but every word he praised, every note he admired, every emotion he claimed to understand was mine. And soon he was going to find out. A week later, When You Knew Me hit the radio. It played everywhere in grocery stores and taxi cabs, even at the construction site where I mixed concrete at dawn. My coworkers hummed it while working, completely unaware that the woman hauling cement next to them had written every word. "Yo, Jade," one of them said, "this song's a banger. You ever write anything like this?" I smiled. "Once." They laughed, thinking I was joking. I didn't correct them. Keeping the secret was sweeter than sharing it. That night I came home to Victor pacing in the living room, scrolling his phone like he'd just discovered a scandal. He turned to me, excited. "Babe, you have to hear this. There's this huge online mystery about that Netflix song, When You Knew Me. Turns out the artist Jay Morrison is totally anonymous. No photos, no social media, nothing. People think it's a fake name. Maybe they want privacy," I said, hanging my jacket. He laughed. "Privacy. Who writes something that good and hides? Probably some rich kid's passion project. Their dad probably owns the label. I sat quietly on the couch, my face calm, my pulse wild. Jay Morrison, Jade Morrison. My initials, my name, my voice. The irony was almost poetic. Victor went on scrolling through comments. It says here they got 6 figures for the rights. Can you imagine for one song? Good for them, I murmured. He chuckled bitterly. Meanwhile, we're struggling to pay rent because someone keeps throwing money into recording demos. I didn't answer. He walked over, put his hand on my shoulder. Look, I'm not saying give up completely, but maybe slow down, you know? Focus on stability. We could think about next steps, maybe engagement, buying a place. Once I quit music, I finished. He smiled, relieved. Exactly. I knew you'd come around. Something inside me cracked, not anger, not pain, just exhaustion. I realized I was no longer arguing because I didn't care to win anymore. That night, while he snored beside me, I opened my laptop again. Netflix had emailed back a follow-up from the music supervisor. We'd love to discuss additional licensing opportunities for Jay Morrison's work. Are you available for a call this week? I stared at the message for a long time. The cursor blinked at the end of my name as if daring me to step into it fully. I typed back. Yes, let's talk Thursday. Jade Morrison. Before hitting send, I whispered the name aloud, Jay Morrison. It sounded like someone I was still becoming, but almost there. The next morning, Victor woke up cheerful. He made coffee and kissed my forehead like nothing was wrong. Morning superstar, he teased. What's on the agenda today? Mixing cement or writing poetry? Maybe both, I said. He grinned. That's my dreamer. He didn't know how right he was. I was still dreaming, just not about him anymore. By Friday, When You Knew Me was trending on TikTok. Fans were using it in videos about love heartbreak and personal rebirth. Someone even posted a theory thread. Who is Jay Morrison? Clues suggest a female songwriter with industry experience. Victor showed it to me with a smirk. You'd love this conspiracy stuff. Everyone's obsessed with a mystery that probably isn't even real. People love a mystery, I said, sipping my coffee. He shrugged. Whatever. It's good PR for the real musicians out there. That word real stuck to me like tar. He'd said it so easily, so carelessly, like everything I'd ever created didn't count until someone else decided it did. That night, I stayed late at the job site, finishing up a concrete pour under the floodlights. It was quiet except for the hum of machinery. I took out my phone, played When You Knew Me, and let my own voice echo through the night air. It hit differently out here, gritty, honest, raw. This wasn't a dream anymore. It was proof. When I got home, Victor was on the couch watching Netflix. Guess which show was playing? He didn't even notice me standing there in the doorway as my song started to play in the background of a scene. He sighed, eyes soft. This song kills me every time. It's so full of truth. I smiled quietly. Yeah, I said. It is. He looked up at me, grinning. You should write something like that. Maybe then people would take your music seriously. I nodded. Maybe one day. Then I walked past him into the bedroom and started looking up one-bedroom apartments online. Not because I needed space, because I finally understood that peace wasn't something you wait for someone to give you, it's something you move toward alone. Monday morning began like any other concrete dust on my hands. Radio humming in the background, the world moving in circles while I tried to convince myself mine wasn't about to shatter or shift again. Then I heard it, and that was When You Knew Me by Jay Morrison, the mystery artist everyone's talking about this month. The DJ's voice echoed through the construction site speakers, bouncing off metal and dust. The same melody that had once been a whisper in my bedroom was now echoing across a city I'd built with my own hands. I froze mid-swing, shovel in hand, heart pounding. Hey, Morrison, my coworker Tony called, grinning. That your cousin or something? Something like that, I said, smiling faintly. But it wasn't until break time that my phone started blowing up texts from old classmates, from musicians I used to play with, even my friend Tony. Tony girl, turn on the radio. They're saying Jay Morrison is you. Are you finally telling people, or do I get to brag first? My secret had lasted exactly 3 weeks. By noon, I was trending. Someone had connected the dots between my ASCAP registration and the song license. Screenshots spread fast, my name, my credits, my photo. From a local gig 2 years ago. Jay Morrison was no longer a mystery. And the first person to call me was Victor. The phone buzzed in my back pocket again and again. I let it go to voicemail. Then again, and again. By the 5th misheard call, I knew he knew. When I finally got home that night, his car was already in the driveway. So was another. A silver sedan I recognized Helen's. My stomach sank. I stepped inside to find Victor, Helen, Patrick, and Nathan sitting in the living room like a tribunal. Victor's eyes were red. Helen looked offended. Patrick looked ready to negotiate a business merger. Is it true? Victor's voice cracked first. Jay Morrison, that's you? I dropped my bag. Yes. You wrote that song, the one from the show? Helen asked sharply. The one about Victor. I nodded once. Patrick leaned forward, voice oily. And you sold it for 6 figures. Technically 125, I said, before taxes. Silence. Victor shot to his feet. You had that kind of money and didn't tell me. I met his gaze evenly. We're not married, Victor. My finances are my business. He stared at me like I'd just slapped him. That's deception. We're partners. I laughed softly. Partners. You introduced me to your family as the woman who still thinks she's going to make it as a singer. You laughed while they mocked me. That night you humiliated me for a song I wrote about you. Helen frowned. He was joking. He was cruel, I corrected. And that cruelty paid for my future. Nathan, who'd been silent until now, looked up from his phone. Mom, she's right. There's no legal claim here. I just checked. Songs written from personal experience belong entirely to the artist. Patrick ignored him. You built that song off our family's image. You made us look shallow. I stared him down. I didn't have to make you look that way. You handled that yourselves. Victor's voice broke. You wrote that song about me. You said you loved me. I did, I said quietly. Back when you believed in me. Before you treated me like an embarrassment. He stepped closer. So what? You just what? Sell our love for money? I shook my head. No, I sold my pain. You just happened to inspire it. Helen gasped. That's heartless. I smiled. No, that's art. For a moment, no one spoke. The air thickened with the sound of everything they didn't say. Finally, Patrick stood. You should do the right thing, Jade. Split the money, 50-50. I laughed out loud. You want half the profit from mocking me? That's bold. Victor's jaw clenched. You owe me. I supported you. You tolerated me, I said. Big difference. Then, for the first time, I saw at the exact moment the control he thought he had over me slipped. His shoulders sagged. His pride cracked. He realized the person he'd built his superiority on had risen higher without his permission. I'm done, Victor, I said quietly. I'm leaving. His voice turned desperate. You can't. We can work this out. I love you. I shook my head. You love the idea of being the man who saved me from my own dreams. I went to the bedroom, grabbed my duffel bag, started packing. He followed, pleading. Please, Jade, don't do this. You'll regret it. Maybe I said zipping my bag, but at least it'll be my regret. When I walked out, Helen hissed, You'll never find someone like Victor again. I paused at the door. That's the plan. I spent that night in a cheap hotel phone buzzing nonstop. Messages, missed calls, one from Victor. I'll tell everyone you used me. You'll regret this. Then another from an unknown number. Ms. Morrison, congratulations on your success. We'd like to discuss a full licensing deal for your catalog. Please confirm if you're available to fly to LA. I stared at the 2 texts, the threat and the opportunity, and smiled. Sometimes the universe doesn't whisper. Sometimes it screams. I typed back, book the flight. Then I blocked Victor's number. For the first time in years, I slept without dreams, or maybe I finally started living one. The next morning, the internet exploded. By breakfast, my face was everywhere. Screenshots of my old Instagram posts, photos from bar gigs, lyrics scrawled on napkins that I'd once uploaded with naive hashtags like #songwriterlife. Headlines read, Mystery artist Jay Morrison revealed as blue-collar female songwriter. Real-life underdog from construction to Netflix. My follower count jumped overnight. Victor's dropped by half. At first, I didn't read the comments. I didn't want to drown in strangers' opinions. But then Tony called. Girl, you need to see this, she said. Victor's posting. I opened his page. There it was, a video of him sitting in our old apartment, puffy-eyed, holding a glass of wine like a rejected reality TV contestant. I just want people to know the truth, he said into the camera. I supported Jade through everything. I paid for her studio time. I believed in her. And now that she's famous, she's acting like I never existed. He sighed dramatically. She wrote that song about me and sold it without telling me. Imagine finding out your love story was used for profit. The comments were vicious. Half of them called me selfish, a traitor. The other half, the louder half, called him out. Didn't you humiliate her at your brother's party? Supporting her? Bro, you literally mocked her on camera once. The song's about your ego, not your love. Screenshots from the engagement party had surfaced. Someone had recorded a clip of him joking about my childish dream. It went viral within hours. Team Jade was trending. By noon, Helen and Patrick were doing their own damage control. They posted a joint statement. Our family has always encouraged ambition and hard work. We are proud of anyone who succeeds with integrity. No mention of my name, no apology, just polished hypocrisy. Meanwhile, Nathan, the one person I least expected, messaged me privately. Hey, I just wanted to say I'm sorry. We were awful to you. You didn't deserve that. And for what it's worth, the song is brilliant. I didn't reply, but I read it twice. Later that day, I got the call from Netflix. They wanted me in LA, all expenses paid, to discuss a new contract. The same show that Victor had praised over dinner now wanted more of my music. Tony screamed when I told her, "Girl, pack your bag like baby." But I didn't scream. I didn't dance. I just sat in the quiet staring at the screen. It wasn't disbelief anymore. It was something heavier, closure maybe. The kind that doesn't feel like victory, but like finally stopping the fight you never should have been in. That night I went back to the apartment one last time. Victor was waiting at the door, dressed too neatly like he'd rehearsed his apology in the mirror. "Jade," he started softly, "please. We need to talk. I'm just here for my things." He followed me inside anyway. I messed up, okay? I shouldn't have said those things. I was jealous, afraid. I didn't answer. I pulled my guitar case from under the bed, coiled my microphone cables. He kept talking. "We can fix this. You don't have to leave. Think about what we've built together." I turned, finally meeting his eyes. "We didn't build anything. I built despite you." He flinched, then reached out, his voice cracking. "You wrote that song about me. You loved me." "I did," I said. "And the woman who loved you wrote her way out of that love." I zipped the case shut. He tried again. "You'll regret walking away from me." I smiled faintly. Maybe. But at least it'll be my choice. When I walked out, Helen's car was parked down the street. She was watching from the driver's seat, arms crossed, disapproval, sharp as ever. I didn't even glance her way. At the hotel that night, I opened my email. There were messages from journalists, talent scouts, and strangers pouring their hearts out. "Your song got me through my divorce. I played When You Knew Me at my mom's funeral. Thank you for making me feel seen." I read until my eyes blurred. These people didn't know me, but somehow they understood me better than the man who claimed to love me. The next morning, Victor posted again a desperate selfie with a caption, "You can have the fame, Jade. I'll keep my integrity." Within an hour, someone commented, "Bro, integrity doesn't laugh at your girlfriend's dreams." And that was the last time I ever saw his name trend. The flight confirmation from Netflix came through that evening. Los Angeles, 9:15 a.m., departure. I stared at the ticket for a long time before whispering, "Looks like my maybe one day is today." I closed my suitcase, turned off my phone, and for the first time in years, the silence around me didn't feel like loneliness, it felt like peace. 3 months later, Los Angeles felt both strange and familiar, like I'd been meant to be here all along. I'd just taken the scenic route through heartbreak to get to it. Every day felt unreal. Meetings at recording studios that smelled like history, long talks with producers who actually listened, music executives calling me Ms. Morrison with respect instead of pity. Netflix had bought 4 of my songs so far. Another streaming service wanted 2 more. My apartment overlooked the city lights, but I still slept on a mattress on the floor, not because I couldn't afford furniture, but because I liked remembering how it felt to build something from the ground up. Still, success didn't stop the ghosts from calling. The first to reach out was Nathan. He messaged me on Instagram one evening, right after an article titled, "The Concrete Songwriter Who Broke Hollywood" went viral. "Hey Jade, I know I said this before, but I really mean it now. I'm sorry for how we treated you. You deserve support, not ridicule. Victor's not doing well. He's back at our parents' place." I typed back a short reply. "I hope he finds peace." He responded instantly. "He won't. He still blames you. But that's on him." I didn't answer. Some silences are kinder than words. A week later, an unfamiliar number texted me. "This is Helen." I stared at it for a full minute before opening the message. "I suppose congratulations are in order. You've made quite a name for yourself. We never meant to hurt you, Jade. We were just worried about Victor. He truly loved you." I let the message sit there glowing in the dark. Then I typed one sentence. "Loving someone doesn't mean humiliating them." She never replied. Then came Patrick. He left a voicemail that sounded more like a business pitch than an apology. "You've done well for yourself. I won't pretend I understand your industry, but if you ever want financial guidance, I'd be happy to advise. You have a rare opportunity here. Don't waste it." I deleted it halfway through. It was always about money, with them never meaning. Victor, though, he didn't text, he didn't call, he posted, constantly. Inspirational quotes, gym selfies, captions like, "Pain builds character." Every other week, he'd drop a vague post about betrayal or people who use you for success. His followers dwindled, but he didn't stop. It was like he was trying to rewrite the story to convince the world he was the victim. And maybe that used to bother me. But now I realize that was his curse, living inside the version of himself he invented to survive me leaving. One afternoon, I got an email from a journalist. Subject line comment request. Response to Victor Holloway's podcast interview. He'd gone on some local podcast apparently claiming I stole his story. They wanted my statement. I smiled at the irony. The man who once told me I was wasting my time now wanted to make a living talking about me. I wrote back, "No comment. My music speaks for itself." And then I went to the studio and wrote something new, a song called Echo Chamber. It wasn't angry. It wasn't even sad. It was about how some people get trapped in their own noise and never hear the quiet truth beneath it. That night, I had dinner with my new manager, Michaela, and her wife. We toasted to another deal, my first full-length album. Somewhere between laughter and wine, Michaela asked softly, "Do you ever think about him?" I paused. "Not the way you mean," I said. "I think about the version of me that loved him. She deserved better, but I don't hate him. I just outgrew the space where he exists." She smiled. "That's powerful." "Not powerful," I said. "Peaceful." 2 days later, another email came. This one from Nathan again. "Just so you know, Mom and Dad finally admitted they were wrong about you. Dad says you made him reconsider how he measures success. He actually used air quotes. Anyway, Victor's been quiet. I think he finally realizes what he lost." I stared at that last line for a while. Then I typed back. I didn't want him to lose anything. I just wanted to stop losing myself. That weekend, Netflix sent me the contract for a 3-series exclusive deal, 15 songs, $1.2 million total. I printed the document, signed it, and whispered to the empty room, "Here's to everyone who said I couldn't." The pen trembled slightly in my hand, not from fear, but from the weight of everything it had taken to get here. Some people chase closure, some people earn it. Me, I wrote mine into existence, one verse, one heartbreak, one truth at a time. The night of my first sold-out show felt like standing in the middle of a dream. I'd spent years building one heartbeat at a time. The same city where I used to carry tool buckets and wipe dust off my arms was now screaming my name under a flood of lights. "Ladies and gentlemen," the announcer called, "please welcome Jade Morrison." The roar hit me like thunder. For a split second, I froze. Then I took a breath, the kind that steadies the past and invites the future, and walked on stage. The opening chords of "When You Knew Me" echoed through the hall. The crowd sang the first line before I could even open my mouth. My song. My story, my voice. Halfway through the set, I paused. The audience quieted, immediately waiting. "This next song," I said, my voice soft but steady, "isn't about fame or money. It's about learning the difference between someone who loves you and someone who loves who they want you to be." A murmur rippled through the crowd, that quiet collective exhale that happens when truth hits bone. I smiled faintly. "It's called When You Knew Me. And yes, it's about exactly who you think it's about." The crowd went wild, phones lighting up the dark like constellations. I played not with anger, but with something purer release. Every note felt like closing a door that had been left open too long. Later that night, after the encore, my manager, Michaela, showed me her phone backstage. "Look," she said gently. He posted again. It was Victor. A video of him watching a live stream of my concert, my voice playing softly in the background. His caption read, "She's playing our song like it means nothing. 4 years together erased. I did believe in her. I just wanted us safe." The comments were merciless. Safe from what? Her success. You mocked her in front of your family. You didn't want her safe. You wanted her small. And one that hit hardest. You loved her conditionally. She loved you creatively. Guess who won? I told Michaela block him on everything. Not because I hated him, but because that chapter no longer needed rereading. The next morning, I sat at a small cafe overlooking downtown. I had coffee, a notebook, and peace. 3 things I used to think couldn't coexist. An email pinged. Subject line, "Congratulations on the tour." From Nathan Holloway. I opened it. "Just wanted to say I watched your performance. It was incredible. For what it's worth, our family talks about you a lot. Dad even quoted your lyrics at dinner last week. I think he finally gets it. Mom's pretending not to. Victor, well, he's quieter now. I think he's realizing the cost of not believing in someone when it mattered." I smiled sadly and replied, "I hope you all find whatever you were looking for. I already did." Later that day, I visited the small house I just bought, nothing fancy, but it had a front porch sunlight and a spare room. I was turning into a studio. The walls smelled like new paint and freedom. I plugged in my guitar, the same old one Victor once called a toy, and let my fingers wander. A melody came out soft, uncertain, but honest. It wasn't a love song this time. It was something gentler forgiveness without invitation. I whispered into the quiet room. From the woman he called a fool to the voice he can't escape. Weeks later, When You Knew Me hit #1 on the charts, and somewhere I imagined Victor hearing it again on the radio the same way I once did, covered in dust, at a construction site. Only this time he'd know exactly who the voice belonged to. The girl he'd laughed at was gone. In her place stood the woman he never saw coming. I closed my eyes, strummed the final chord, and smiled. Because he was right about